By way of introduction, I'm a business analyst within the information technology industry. People regularly ask me what it means to be a business analyst. Simply put, one contract I might design and implement a computer system, and in another I might write a request for a proposal or a business case. In fact, my work includes anything at all to do with IT solutions. I had the good fortune to begin my life on farms in Danny Carter country, I had to say that, Canterbury. First in an extended family situation in Colverton, and then just with my immediate family in Hororata. I imagined that I would never leave Hororata in the land, but life has a way of taking one on an unplanned ride, and here I am, a city person, having called Wellington home since 1981, and having lived 9 years in large cities, Melbourne, London and Sydney. I was introduced to technology at the age of 15, where I accompanied my father to the Christchurch Winter Show, and at one of the stands we came across a most remarkable thing. This remarkable thing had us both standing there in awe and wonderment for quite some time, and believe it or not, this remarkable thing, which was the size of a corporate telephone, was a calculator. We did have a TV at home, which was also mesmerising, but somehow this calculator seemed more intellectually tangible. How it worked, I wondered. A few years later, I found myself at university completing a degree in philosophy of education and child psychology, with a view to becoming a child psychologist. This didn't happen, but I have to say this degree set me up for life in many ways. It taught me how to construct a formal argument, something I have to do regularly in my work, and gave me a few tools for managing errant children, or should I say, errant adults. By 1980, after a couple of years in Melbourne, I found myself in Wellington, where my fascination with computers led me to a programming job with the National Bank. A couple of years later, I moved to a role as an analyst with Shell Oil, before joining Nigel Gould's company, Comtex, and later moving on to working independently as both an analyst and a project manager. One of the most rewarding aspects of my work is that each contract immerses me in the function of the company or the government agency I'm contracted to, where I not only learn about the workings of the business, but I find myself privy to so much interesting information. From this perspective, my current role, the Environmental Protection Authority, which Kerry knows well, would be right up there, so I'd like to share a little of this with you. The New Zealand EPA was established in 2009, and since then it has been providing or declining approvals for hazardous substances, new organisms and activities in the exclusive economic zone. Additionally, the EPA administers the emissions trading scheme. It is only now that the EPA is being empowered to carry out a compliance function, which is giving the EPA the powers to monitor and enforce adherence to these various approvals and non-approvals. About chemicals. Humans have found or made 50 million different chemicals. It has been calculated that on average during the last 12 months there is a new substance isolated or synthesised every 2.6 seconds. And not only do EPAs have to deal with such huge volumes, but they have to grapple with all sorts of complex issues. For instance, the GMO issue. As it happens, we in New Zealand have been importing GMO seeds for 100 years. So the EPA has the unenviable task of determining what criteria to apply and where to draw the line after the bird has flown, as it were. Another complex issue, now that it has emerged that Monsanto has for 30 years covered up information on the carcinogenic and residual properties of glyphosates, commonly known as Roundup, the EPA has the difficult task of analysing the available research and then deciding what can be done about it that would be acceptable. When it comes to chemical mixtures, nothing is straightforward. A few years ago, Amy Adams, when she was Minister of Irma, the EPA's predecessor, went into Bunnings and randomly bought 5 containers of everyday mixtures. She presented them to the Irma staff with the question, are these harmful? The task was assigned to the EPA's lead scientist, Peter Dawson. After 3 very full days of research, he concluded that 2 of them were safe, 1 of them wasn't, and the other 2, well, he couldn't quite determine whether they were safe or not without spending a lot more time. On that note, I'll conclude, and thank you for listening to me.